So I'm trying to bridge the gap. There is a distinct and clear connection between the ancient India and the ancient Africa. And this is what happening. This is a curse on our race. But we need to, that is where we need to go to education. We need to go to education. What I want to do is, I hope you do not know a whole lot of this Hindu religion. Because there are some people blindly follow this religion. Not only the white men, I have even seen some African American sisters following, brothers and sisters following this stupid religion. To me, I don't think we should follow any religion other than our ancestral religion. Because when I go back to India, I call these guys, I tell these guys, there are 1,001 gods, so-called Hindu gods. All these gods have been there since 3,000–4,000 years. They haven't done a damn thing to our people. We are still slaves. And still we are slaves. The same thing goes here. Jesus Christ has been here 2,000 years. The black man and black woman has been lynched in this country with Jesus Christ holding his hand. Are we that dumb not to recognize that? If there is a TV, some award, musical award presented, the young, handsome African-American brother comes and stands, receives the award. Jesus Christ, thank you. I feel like slapping his face. He does not. Jesus Christ helped him be there. This is that our ancestors here, 4,000 years been killed and lynched and murdered and raped. Because of them, this young man is standing here. We got to catch every little young child and teach them before they go to school and get some kind of teaching, some kind of education. And that is where our problem lies. And it is so prevalent in India because after 1947, I'm going to go back to the history. Brother Inoko told, Brother Inuni told me I can take all the time I want. So till you all tell me to shut up, and I'm going to keep going. So when after independence, so-called independence, and I'll come back and say why I'm calling so-called independence, the low caste people had little chance to go to school and move up. But he doesn't want to read history. He thinks, oh my goodness, gee, the God gave me. Because of God, I'm moving up. He thinks he's too damn smart. I'm extremely smart, that's the reason I'm moving up. It's not because of his smartness. It is because he got the opportunity. But who created the opportunity? That is the person he needs to go and thank. Instead, this idiot goes around to the Hindu temple and trying to hide himself so he can get into the temple. Because if he tells the guy he's an untouchable, they'll kick him out of that place. Because he's not supposed to go into the temple. As a matter of fact, not only inside the temple, he can't even go close to the temple. Because he's not only untouchable, he's unshadowable. Because even the shadow will pollute the temple or the god or the upper caste person.
Mohenjo-Daro, lost city of the Indus Valley. Fact: in the ancient city of Mohenjo-Daro, located in present-day Pakistan, a remarkable discovery was made. Archaeologists unearthed a meticulously planned urban settlement, dating back to around 2500 BCE, which boasted a complex water management system. This sophisticated system consisted of interconnected drains, wells, and baths, highlighting the advanced engineering skills of its inhabitants. Surprisingly, this ancient marvel went unnoticed. For centuries, and its significance was only realized in the 1920s during excavations. Can you imagine what it would be like to live back then in a city with such an advanced water management system? Let us know in the comments.
Could this have been the most equal society in the ancient world? The Indus Valley Civilization existed roughly between 3300 BC to around 1300 BC. It was centered around the Indus River, based mostly in what is now Pakistan, extending into northern India. It existed at the same time as ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia, and there's even proof of trade between these civilizations. It shared many of the features found in these other civilizations, like the use of standardized bricks and weights, as well as the division of labor. And perhaps one of the most interesting and important aspects, it also had a widespread writing system, which remains undeciphered to this day. But a major difference was that it was a lot bigger geographically. In fact, it was bigger than ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia combined. It was the most heavily populated ancient civilization of its time. There's no real evidence of things like royal tombs, great palaces that we tend to attribute to the leaders or the rulers of those other two civilizations. It seems that the labor in this civilization was mostly focused on developing public utilities. Things like plumbing systems, community spaces, and flood walls. And these cities were clearly well planned out. In fact, most houses and tombs were basically around the same size as each other. It seems that everyone just sort of lived equally to each other.
Let's take a look at the Indus Valley princesses. Also, please go support the artist Arslan Actual on Instagram. He does amazing work. The first three princesses are from Balochistan. This is the Balochistan region right here. It's mainly in Pakistan. If anyone knows what that headpiece right there is called, please tell me. It's so beautiful. It's also interesting how the southern region is a little different from the other two. She's wearing all gold jewelry and she's wearing more of a salwar while they're doing pants. The next two princesses are Mahajir, which basically means that they immigrated from India after the partition. That's why they have like an Indian city beside them. So the first one is from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. So she went from here all the way there. The first thing I thought of when I saw her was Pakiza. Pakiza is this really popular Bollywood movie about a Muslim prostitute from Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow. Like, the dress, especially those details, are exactly this. The next five princesses are Sindhi, which means they're from the Sindh area right here. And since it borders like Gujarat and Rajasthan, you'll see a lot of influence from there as well. The first princess is Fakirani from the southern region of Sindh and the Kutch region of Gujarat. And you can see Kutch embroidery on her. You'll also notice that almost all their jewelry is like oxidized, like silver jewelry. And that's very common in Gujarat and Rajasthan. I've also seen these kind of like bangle sets on Rajasthani women. I'm guessing these are made from ivory from the color, which, you know, isn't legal anymore. The last Sindhi princess is Sindhi Rajput. To me, the Rajasthani influence is obvious. You can see the Borla Mang Tikka, and we got some Sindhi Prandi representation. Honestly, she's just giving me Jodha from Jodha Akbar. Like, look at that. He nailed it. Borla Tikka and everything. The next four princesses are Punjabi. This is the Punjab region. It's split up between Pakistan and India. Starting with the Cholistani princess. Cholistan is one of the desert areas in Punjab. And their jewelry looks similar to what I know as the Kanta, which is like this threaded necklace with usually like a gold pendant. Then we have central and western Punjab, which is the most familiar to me. There's gold jewelry, the Kagra, Parandi, and she's wearing a pasa. You'll also notice that almost every single princess is wearing some form of mehndi. Okay, I had to take a break because my mic died. So the next three princesses are Pashtun princesses. So that kind of lies in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we see the salwars coming back in, which makes sense because they're originally from Persia. You can see the Afghani influence with the oxidized silver jewelry. I've also seen this pattern a lot. I don't know what it signifies. I've also seen these like beauty marks on the chin before, even in India. Then we start going more towards the Khyber Pass. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I feel like the more north we go, the more lost I am. So if you guys can help me out, please do. I was thinking that she looks the most familiar to me, and then I see Punjab, which is crazy. I also noticed that so far, a lot of their shoes look very similar. Then we get to the Pahadi, which is like Jammu and Kashmir, and that's like that region right there. I'm seeing so many more prints coming in their clothing. And the next three princesses are from Baltistan, so we're just kind of going north of Jammu and Kashmir. And it makes sense because we're starting to see warmer shoes. Also, I really love these headpieces. I have no idea what they're called, but they're stunning. The headpieces have the same shape, but hers looks like it's made from cloth. And it seems like we're just going more and more north. Warmer clothing overall and warmer headpieces. That headpiece looks really beautiful. If you guys know what it's called, please let me know. The last princess is from Nuristan, which is actually in this area of Afghanistan right here. It's crazy to me how specific these regions are and how accurate all of these outfits are. Please go show support to the artist, Arslan Actual on Instagram.
This is the man who went down in history as the person who invented education. Just like most people think that civilization started in Europe. Well, it did not. Civilization started in Mesopotamia and the Great Kemet of Africa. Then later on, about 1200 BCE, was when civilization was reaching the Central America, the modern-day Mexico. So there is no way a white man would have invented education when the first university in the world, the University of Timbuktu, was located in Africa. The University of Timbuktu was established by Mansa Musa, who was a Malian empire and the richest man in the world by that time. Subjects like philosophy, cultural studies, language studies, advanced African grammar were mandatory, while subjects like history, algebra, physics, medicine, chemistry, arithmetic, and astronomy from the Dogon people were totally optional. Students who did complete the course of study received clothes, blocks of salt, livestock, and money as gifts upon their graduation. Graduation ceremony consisted of wearing a white garment while riding a white horse towards.
You know, I'm surprised by one thing. Each day, I always get surprises. Every now and then, surprise here, surprise there. And today, we want to talk about India. Africans have been part of India for the longest time possible. You know, for many centuries, Africans have been part of this subcontinent of Africa. As early as the 4th century, they began making their way to the subcontinent of India. You know, you might ask yourself, how did the Indians get to, how did the Africans get to India? Remember, we had the Arab slave trade. We had the role that it played in bringing Africans to India. You understand? We also had Africans settling down in India. We had Africans who were sailing, even if it's not about slavery. Africans had their own technology of sailing from Africa all the way to India. Now, also we had the prominence in India sultanates. Back then, India was ruled by leaders. The leaders were called sultans. That is the time. Also, examples of Africans who are known to go to India were someone like Malik Ambar, and also we have Abyssinian Habshish. This is a long history of Africans who are able to move to the subcontinent of India. And this history is not known to many. That is what we are going to discuss today. Dr. Anamali, his name is Dr. Anamali, is going to discuss and is going to reveal information about Africans in India. I find this is very important because if you look at the south of India, you'll notice that we have, the southern Indians have darker tone, and the northern Indians have a brighter tone. And if you look at the coast of East Africa, it aligns itself close to the half of India, which is a half facing downwards, which is southern India. Now, this might explain why we have black people in India, and nobody can explain it better than the Professor Anamali himself. Now, I want us to watch this video, get to listen what the professor has to say, and then I shall share with you my thoughts by the end of the video, where we shall also have a deep, critical analysis. Let's dive in.
The purpose of my coming and talking to you is to educate. The word educate, I don't want you to misunderstand the word. I'm not referring that you are uneducated. But I'd like to make a distinction, the use or the meaning of the word education. Most of the time, we call somebody educated because he has a BS degree or a PhD degree. I don't consider that to be an education. That is simply the person is literate. He can read and write, maybe get a job, fill his tummy. I don't think as African Americans or the black untouchables of India, that word is the word that we want to use. Education means to understand who I am, who you are, what's your background, what's your past, what's your present. If we do not understand that, then we are not educated, no matter what your educational qualifications are. Okay? So, with that kind of introduction, I would like to bring to you a part of the world which has been completely hidden and forgotten. There are two worlds who were connected together long time back, but the present generation do not know. Either side do not know the other side is related. And that is my purpose. So if someone would look at me, this guy doesn't look like an African. He looks like one of the Indians walking around the street, and most of the Indians are obnoxious to the African Americans. What is he doing here? And this has been raised several times. Every time I go to an African American meeting, particularly in the beginning, when Brother Noko Rashidi used to take me, and people question, who is this person? But I think I have spoken to several groups, several radio stations, and the book, the Dalits, the Black Contestable of India, has fairly disseminated the information about who the Dalits are. I think now the African American community has understood that not every Indian is obnoxious. There could be somebody who is your brother or sister, and it's kind of difficult to find out. Okay, and even after I finish my lecture, still you may not be able to find out. But at least you would know there is such a thing, that there is a brother or sister who has same ancestry as you have. Okay. So going back to the history, what is the connection between India and Africa? I think by now probably a lot of people know, because I've asked that question several times, that India used to be called long time ago Eastern Ethiopia. Everybody knows that, right? No? Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. You also probably heard there is a big river in India called Ganges. Okay. To be frank, till 2 years back, I did not know what the meaning of the word Ganges. I simply know Ganges is Ganges. Do you know the name Ganges is one of the strongest and famous emperors of Ethiopia? That's right. Do you think some crazy Aryans would name a big river in India after an African emperor? Would not. Simple logic says that. In southern part of India, a particular god is being worshipped by the local people. His name is Murugan. He is always on top of the hill. And you go back to Eastern Africa, even today, for more than 25 tribals worship a god which is on the hill. His name is Murungu. And obviously there's no connection between these two people over 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 years. So I'm trying to bridge the gap. There is a distinct and clear connection between the ancient India and the ancient Africa. And that is where I want to go back to the Indus Valley civilization. I think most of you would have heard that, or maybe would have studied in school, which is as ancient as the Egypt Nile Valley civilization. Okay. I want to confess that I'm not a historian. I'm not an archaeologist, a sociologist. I'm a good-for-nothing engineer. Okay. So I'm not trying to go into the details, archaeological details. I will leave that to Brother Runoko Rashidi when he comes next. But the original inhabitants or the original creators of the Indus Valley civilization, which is also called Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, or Harappan civilization, was created by the black man. People came from Africa. About 7,000 BC, which is 9,000 years back, maybe even earlier than that. They brought agriculture. They domesticated most of the animals. They were highly civilized. They had two-story buildings, sanitation systems, sewage system. They had a built-in screening system in the sewage, so the solids would not block the liquid passage. They had chutes, so they can drop the garbage from the upper level to lower levels. They had individual wells. They had courtyards. Highly civilized conditions they were living. They're very peaceful agricultural people. Very well flourishing civilization. This is the original black people. Then about, I think, 5,000 BC, small groups of people from Mediterranean started coming into Indus Valley. The Indus Valley I'm referring right now, if you could imagine Pakistan. And that is where the original Indus Valley people lived. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, those are two main cities that they lived. And that was not discovered till, I think, 1846 or something by the British. Before that, we did not even know that we had a civilization. The British, obviously, they were trying to build railway lines and they stumbled into the civilization. When these Mediterranean people came, they mingled with the local black people. And obviously, there is a certain amount of intermingling and maybe a slight change in features. That is the people they started calling themselves Dravidians. Maybe Brother Inuni might be able to give a little detailed definition as what the Dravidian means. I'm not quite sure, even though I call myself a Dravidian. But anyway, that is how the word Dravidian came into picture. To me, Dravidian and a black are one and the same. As a matter of fact, that is how it is being used in the Vedas and scriptures of the Hindu religion, which I'll go into a little later. Okay. And even today, in India, normally the dark-skinned people are referred as Dravidians. Okay. When these Dravidians were living comfortably, about 3000 BC, between 3000 and 2000 BC, nomadic white Aryans came from the Central Asia. They were looking for food. They were just wandering around. They were huge, big people. The one thing, sadly, they had is they domesticated horses, which the Dravidians did not. With the horsepower of being nomadic, barbarians, they had all the skills of killing and beating. So when they walked into Indus Valley civilization, they found a glorious people living. So first thing they wanted to do is to conquer the people and to learn and to possess everything what these people had. A conflict took place. A war took place. It went on for several hundred years. Obviously, when the people came, the Aryans came, there is no very clear-cut statistics how many women came with them. The perception is that not too many women they brought with them, the white women. So there is already a mixing of color started during the period of struggle. So when the white man started having offsprings closer to white skin, not exactly white, closer to white skin, they started dividing these people into different groups. The highest being the purest white. The second group, little darker. The third group is little darker. And then they assigned positions or jobs or trades according to the color. The purest color had the best job. The second color, the lowest color, had the second level job. And the third level color had the third level job. And the fourth one is the darkest color. Okay. The purest guy, the white man, they called themselves Brahmins. Brahmins, the word Brahmin comes from the word Brahma. Brahma is the creator of the religion that they later on invented. When they came in, they did not have a religion. Our ancestors had nature worship. That is what they did. They did not have any ritualism. They simply worshipped the sun and the rain and the fire and the air. That is the type of worship they had. They also worshipped cattle, the cows and the bulls, because that is what is used in their agriculture. So they wanted to thank them. As a matter of fact, even today in South India, where most of the Dravidians live, we have 1 day or 2 days. 1 day we equivalent to Thanksgiving, but we thank the sun, because without sun we cannot have agriculture. And the second day we thank the oxen and the bulls and all that. Even today it's happening. So this is our ancestry. But these guys, they created their own gods. Brahma is the creator. So the pure white Aryans, they call themselves Brahmins. Brahmins, I guess it's also meaning the wise man. That is according to them, obviously not according to me. Okay? So their duty or their exclusive profession is priesthood and teaching. They are the only one can read and write. And they are the only one can obviously be the priest. That means be close to the God, and essentially they call themselves the God. On earth, they are the God. The second lighter skin guy got the job of a trader, trading and accounting and taking care of the business. And the third guy, the third darker guy, is the warrior. And the big guys, they picked all these guys, okay, you're going to protect us. This is the people came from their offsprings. But the indigenous people, we were fighting with them all the time, and were captured and made as slaves to serve the first three. At that time, I think it really meant classes. The fourth one is called the Shudras. They're in fact the slaves of the three upper castes. So the first three castes are called the upper caste. And the fourth one is the Shudra, or a slave. But that doesn't end the story there. The people who fought with these Aryans but could not withstand and ran off into the jungles are called the tribals. And even today you can see tribals in India. If you go and look at them, you wouldn't distinguish them from any other African in Africa. Every features, the curly hair, the big lips and everything, dark color, dark skin. In between, the guys did not run away, the guys did not surrender, but kept fighting all the time. Ultimately, the Aryans took these people as slaves, but they're so furious because these people did not surrender like the Shudras, and they said, okay, you guys, we're going to punish you, and we're going to call you as untouchables. Because we can't touch you, because if we touch you, we'll pollute ourselves. And we're going to designate the kind of jobs which are called polluting jobs. Cleaning the street, cleaning the bathrooms, carrying the dead animals, and everything which goes along is called polluting or filthy. And then we are going to make you to live away from this town, away from the villages, segregated. These are called the outcast or untouchables. This is initially started as a kind of a class system. And I want to make sure we clearly understand the difference between class and caste. There is a big difference. A lot of people do not understand, or if you talk to a lot of Indians walking around here, either they do not understand or they purposely lie to you. Okay? They do. There is a valley and a hill difference between the word caste and class. So this started as a class system, but then the Aryans worried about their purity of their race. They wanted to make sure that they have no more intermingling between these castes, so the Brahmins can control them better. They wanted to keep those people within the 2 walls or the 4 walls. How can we do that? We need to make sure there is no crossbreeding. That's the first thing we want to do. How can we do that? We're going to introduce religion. That's the best way. You want to subjugate somebody, you introduce religion. And these Aryans were so smart in an obnoxious way. They invented a religion. They invented 2 words. One word is called dharma. The other word is called karma. Dharma means kind of a, you do what the God says you got to do. Okay. So what he says, the God says, this is your job. God tells you this is the job you got to do. Why, if a guy says, why I have to be a carpenter, why can't I be the priest? Then he comes around and tells you that is because of your karma. What is karma? You did something bad in your last life, so the God is punishing you this life. Okay? But that doesn't stop right there either. You better not question that again. Why you are in that position. If you question, you will make the God angry, and next life you're going to be worse than this. Very smart people. Extremely smart people. So everybody did their job with a smiling face. It doesn't matter what the job is. Agreeing to be a slave, enjoying the slavery. So that's what we call in India, where the slaves enjoy slavery. Because they think they're serving God. But it took 3,000 years for me to get up and said, which God? Let me find out which God he is. Who made me be an untouchable? Tell me what I did in my last life. I sure want to find out. Okay? I sure want to talk to that God. Maybe I'll shoot him. Because I know the life of an untouchable in India. But what these Aryans did, they made us completely dumb, completely ignorant, completely illiterate, completely poor, completely weak in every sense of the word for 3,000 years. We can study, we can read, write, we can't even, our women cannot even cover their body. And we cannot even wear any dress like the other man. I'll go back later on and read some of the scriptures, which is the holy books of Hindu holy books, where it says an untouchable, the dress of an untouchable has to be the dress of the dead corpus. That is, the holy book says that. The Hindu holy book says that. And these people are supposed to eat only from broken pots. So when they have systematically made these people for so long, they completely accepted their faith, so-called faith. I said, well, obviously I've done such a bad thing in my last life. I have no choice. So I might as well hope for better life in next life, better things in next life, or maybe better life for my child in my next life. So let me faithfully follow my dharma. So I don't even have a mind to question as to why I am an untouchable and this guy sits on top of the hill. Okay? It took 3,000-4,000 years for us to even think about it. Okay? This is what is called Varna Ashrama Dharma, which is Varna means color. In Sanskrit, the word Varna is color. So the religion today is called Hinduism. The original name is not Hinduism. It is either called Brahminism, Brahminism, meaning that you accept Brahmin as a superior. That is the name of the religion. Or Varnashrama Dharma, meaning, I told you Dharma. The Dharma is the job that you do designated by God, and that job is due to your Varna, so Varnashrama Dharma. So this is the name of the religion. Till 9th century AD, when the Persians ran into India, they saw the river, the Sindh river, the Indus Valley civilization, which is the river called Sindh. They said, well, this is Sindh river, so this place called Sindh. But they can't pronounce yes somehow. They couldn't pronounce yes. So they called them Hind. Then they said, everybody who lived in this part of the country called Hindus. For them, everybody other than who followed Islam were Hindus. Even though an untouchable who is an outcast, because to be an Hindu, you got to have a caste. If you are an outcast, obviously you don't have a caste. If you do not have a caste, you can't be a Hindu. But for the purposes of the Brahmins and the other upper caste, it is for their advantage to call the untouchables as Hindus, so they can faithfully, obediently do your job. So they called them as Hindus. And the untouchables, not knowing what's going on, agreed, we are also Hindus. Except I can't go into their temples, I cannot go into the streets where the upper caste live, except to clean their bathrooms. Okay? So we were the outcasts. When the British came, obviously the purpose of the British who came there to conquer and to rob the country. That's what they did. And obviously the Brahmins were the guys who were controlling the local population. So they went to the Brahmins, and Brahmins said, everybody Hindus. So British wrote, everybody Hindus. So that is how everybody is called Hindus. If you read any article in New York Times about India, they would say India has 85% Hindus, which is absolutely false. So tomorrow, if you happen to see an Indian on the street, if you ask him what religion do you follow, if he says Hinduism, you should say, you mean to say Brahminism? He may not even know, or he may not agree with you. Because systematically, for all these years, the Indians or the Hindus have cheated the international community about what's going on in India. The caste system, the untouchability, it is so prevalent, so rampant, so barbarous, so evil, but it's all done in the name of religion. So nobody talks about it. And then it's controlled by the white man. The international press is controlled by the white man. So nobody can talk about it. The New York Times press reporter goes to India. The first guy meets him as a Brahmin. So Brahmin feeds him some trash. This guy brings the trash and spits out here. That's what's going on. Okay. So we are now trying to bring some truth in what's going on. Okay. I'm going to go back and show this book, African Presence in Early Asia. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this book. Okay. There are a couple of excellent articles here for those who want to understand a little bit the African connection, the Dravidian connections. But I want to quote one starting with the Wayne Chandler, Brother Wayne Chandler's article. He brings Ethiopia and India together in this quote. And upon his return to Greece, they gathered around and asked, "Tell us about this great land of blacks called Ethiopia." And Herodotus says there are two great Ethiopian nations, one in Sind, meaning India, and the other is in Egypt. So, and there's an excellent article. There are a few mistakes, but I think that we can ignore that. Somebody said something? Okay. I want to define a caste system. How do you define a caste system? What is a caste system? Everybody talks about caste system. But I want to read a well-written definition. A four-tiered, airtight, stratified, and predetermined compartmental system of ascending order of reverence and descending order of contempt, with no entrance and no exit. It is fixed for the lifetime, decided on the basis of your birth, not merit, not scholarship, not even bank balance. Hindu religious scriptures came to elaborate, encode, and morally justify the system. One is born and died in the same caste. So once you are born as an untouchable, you are untouchable forever, and your child becomes untouchable automatically. So the Brahmin, his child is a Brahmin, no matter how idiotic he is, how stupid he is. And no matter how intelligent and untouchable is still untouchable. This system, unique system, only in India, nowhere in the world. And also the so-called Hindu religion is also only in India, nowhere else. So this is, Hindu religion is nothing but caste system. What is a caste system? In fact, originally started as a racism. It started with racism. And racism taught in the name of religion. So if anyone asks you, how do you define Hindu religion? It is sanctified racism. That is the word. So if in future, if you happen to see, and I would encourage you to catch every Indian, if you see, ask him what's your religion, he says Hinduism, you mean to say sanctified racism. I hope you would all say that. And I hope I'll give you enough information so you can support yourself. He is an ignorant guy. He doesn't know. He doesn't want to know, except his parents told him he's an upper caste. He's hanging on to that. And he loves to call himself an upper caste. But he never thinks for a minute as to why he is an upper caste. Why the other guy is a lower caste. Why is he untouchable? He never thinks about it. Because it is in their head, it is in their blood, it is the sickness. Shred of humanity, shred of compassion, if anyone has. Why should I be the priest all the time? My father was a priest, my grandchild is a priest, and this guy is cleaning my bathroom, which he cannot even come into my house, cannot walk into my street. Don't you think a little bit of humanity would raise this kind of consciousness? Over 4,000 years this is going on. Neither Indians nor the international community ever talks about it. And today there is a war going on in Bosnia. They say, let's start an inquiry, a war criminal inquiry. I mean, here an oppression, systematic oppression going on for 4,000 years, nobody talks about it. What is the reason? 200 million people are suffering today. And nobody talks about it. You know, one of the main reasons is because they were blacks and they are blacks. That is the basis. You may not know that, I may not know that. I did not know even know that my ancestry was black. I was not taught that in the school. When I went to school, they talked about Indus Valley civilization, but they never told me that is my ancestors who created this great civilization. Now you know what they're doing? The Brahmins, all these years, they said it is a Dravidian civilization, the black civilization, the Aryans invaded. In the last 2 years, now they say, we found new evidence. That is, no, Aryans were never invaders. Aryans were indigenous people. They found new evidence. Is it that difficult to plant evidences? It is painful. It is painful that they could have the obnoxious mind to twist history. And they are finding people could collaborate with them, and white men in this country. These guys go there, they join some religious cult, and then they come back and say, great religion is great. Don't even know what they are. One time I met an Anglo guy, he said, oh, Hare Krishna, great religion. And I asked him, what's your religion? What's your caste? So he said, you are a Hindu, what's your caste? I don't, what? I said, if you don't have a caste, you're not a Hindu, damn it. So you're a Brahmin, right? Is this the reason why you say you're a Hindu? Do you know there is untouchables in that country? These kids were brainwashed. These kids have no brain to wash to start with. They go there, there's crazy gurus, they have crazy ideas, like the Rajneesh, the guy who had a 36 Rolls Royce, because he let every woman and men do whatever you guys want to do. And that is how these Hare Krishnas running around and is one of the craziest groups. And they call themselves Hindus. How can they, if you read history, if you read facts, they cannot say that. But because it doesn't affect them. That is the basis. As long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care what you are doing, how you suffer. As long as I am in the pedestal. And that is what the Hindu religion, the Brahminism, has done to their people. And that was the reason why it is so well protected. And nothing could change that. And unfortunately, the people from the down under, when they move up a little bit, and they want to imitate, try to run away from his own kin and kith. I think you can see some parallels here, right? Yeah. And this is what happening. This is a curse on our race. But we need to, that is where we need to go to education. We need to go to education. What I want to do is, I hope you do not know a whole lot of this Hindu religion. Because there are some people blindly follow this religion. Not only the white men, I have even seen some African American sisters following, brothers and sisters following this stupid religion. To me, I don't think we should follow any religion other than our ancestral religion. Because when I go back to India, I call these guys, I tell these guys, there are 1,001 guards, so-called Hindu guards. All these guards have been there since 4,000 years. They haven't done a damn thing to our people. We are still slaves. And still we are slaves. The same thing goes here. Jesus Christ has been here 2,000 years. The black man and black woman has been lynched in this country with Jesus Christ holding his hand. Are we that dumb not to recognize that? If there is a TV, some award, musical award presented, the young, handsome African-American brother comes and stands, receives the award. Jesus Christ, thank you. I feel like slapping his face. He does not. Jesus Christ helped him be there. This is that our ancestors here, 4,000 years been killed and lynched and murdered and raped. Because of them, this young man is standing here. We got to catch every little young child and teach them before they go to school and get some kind of teaching, some kind of education. And that is where our problem lies. And it is so prevalent in India because after 1947, I'm going to go back to the history. Brother Inoko told, Brother Inuni told me I can take all the time I want. So till you all tell me to shut up, and I'm going to keep going. So when after independence, so-called independence, and I'll come back and say why I'm calling so-called independence, the low caste people had little chance to go to school and move up. But he doesn't want to read history. He thinks, oh my goodness, gee, the God gave me. Because of God, I'm moving up. He thinks he's too damn smart. I'm extremely smart. That's the reason I'm moving up. It's not because of his smartness. It is because he got the opportunity. But who created the opportunity? That is the person he needs to go and thank. Instead, this idiot goes around to the Hindu temple and tries to hide himself so he can get into the temple. Because if he tells the guy he's an untouchable, they'll kick him out of that place. Because he's not supposed to go into the temple. As a matter of fact, not only inside the temple, he can't even go close to the temple. Because he's not only untouchable, he's unshadowable. Because even the shadow will pollute the temple or the god or the upper caste person. As a matter of fact, the village I came from, where I was born, I still remember there is a temple. Let's say this is the end of the wall. As an untouchable, I could not go next to the wall. There are a bunch of stones stuck about 20 feet from the wall. I have to go outside the stone. You know why? Because a certain time of the day, my shadow will fall on the wall. That will pollute the god. And the distance is measured with the angle, the longest shadow for the tallest guy. It is today. I'm not talking about 200 years back. And if anyone says India is the biggest democracy, you have to shake that guy, hold him by his collar, and tell him what is democracy. It is called democracy. That's what it is. Okay. I said the so-called independence because the independence is for the upper caste. So they have the independence to crush and exploit and discriminate the rest of the people. And that is what's going on there. That is what, the so-called freedom of press. Or what is freedom of press? Freedom of press, so the press editor has the freedom to do whatever he wants to write. And that's what is freedom of press. Just like that, here independence is they can do whatever they want and they can exploit the people. So this is the kind of story that you don't hear about it, but this is the facts. So I want to make sure you all understand what Hindu religion alone, what is the implication. The temples are there all over. They are building temples in this country. The Hindus, the upper caste Hindus coming into this country, very powerful. There may be a small number, very powerful because of the money. Most of them are professionals, doctors, engineers, and businessmen. And they have a good hold on these politicians. And they build temples, millions and millions of dollars. And you go inside the temple, I don't know if they're going to let you in, but if you ever happen to go inside, you'll find out who is the priest. Only Brahmins, no one else. No one else can even go inside that inner, wherever that statue. You know, the Hindu has idol worshipping. And they have 1,001 gods. And if you read some of the stories of these gods, you wouldn't believe. One god chasing another god's wife. Another god's wife is chasing another god. You wouldn't believe what all. And the god, obnoxious things. That kind of stories the Hindu religion has. But that's what practicing here. As a matter of fact, the Hindu community in this country practice casteism in this country. Practice so subtly. You know, there's local Indian-run papers. And the Indian community try to stay within themselves, trying to find match for their children. And they have what is called matrimonial column in the paper. And if you pick it up and see, they go through detailed description of the caste. Here. And this, of course, the white man doesn't care because he likes that, because it is all based on racism or freedom of religion. So you can spread poison in the name of religion. And we want to be watchful. We want to find out. We need to know. And unless we know the truth, we wouldn't know what's going on. Okay. Let me go back and read you some of the holy scriptures. You know, Vedas, you probably would have heard about Vedas, gThe, Bhagavad Gita, is all holy books. I hope I made it clear. In the Brahminical Hindu religion, there is no single God, like Jesus Christ in Christianity, or Allah in Islam, or Buddhism. There's no. I shouldn't say Buddha, because Buddha never called himself a god. Okay, these other guys are all prophets or son of a gods or whatever. Okay, but I gave up on these gods and religion long time back, because I was born in a village. I was thrown out of a temple. I was thrown out of a street because I was wearing chapel. So I went through the pain for no fault of myself. I was in the village, about 2,000 or 3,000 people in their village, all caste from Brahmins to untouchables. I was the first person to leave that village to go to big city to go to engineering school. I was the first to leave the country to live abroad, and still I was an untouchable. And still am. When I went to 1988, I took a bus to go to the village. I was sitting, and the next seat was empty, and the upper caste guy wouldn't sit, because he recognized I came from that village. And I think that probably that guy is a million miles away from as far as my caliber, my achievements. It doesn't really matter what your qualification is, because you are born an untouchable. That is because Manu is the guy who codified this religion. Hindu religion is nothing but rules and regulations to keep the races separate. Okay? So Manu, they call that he is the lawgiver of the Hindu religion. He says Brahma, as I told you, he is the creator, has intended from eternity that the untouchables should be born slaves and live as slaves and die as slaves. This is, I'm quoting. I'm not coming up with, the reason I'm reading, because I don't want to misread it. I want to quote exactly what it says. Slavery is inborn among the Shudras. You know, Shudra is the last within the caste system. Shudra is inborn among, slavery is inborn among Shudras, and no one can free them from it. No one can free it, because he is born. And then he is in the compartment where there is no entrance and no exit. A Shudra is a born slave. Food gets polluted by the smell of a pig, by the looks of a dog, and the touch of a Shudra. And he is not only simply saying the food is polluted by the touch of a Shudra, but he is comparing him with pigs and dogs. This is written 2,000-3,000 years back. I didn't expect that people could be that evil. Obviously they were. A Shudra shall always serve the Brahmins, to live in this world and to benefit in the next world. Remember I told you? You do your service politely, obediently, there's a possibility you will be rewarded in next life. So this is what they tell you. So you do an excellent job being a slave. Not a disgruntled, unsatisfied, but you enjoy. Yes, master, I want to love, I want to serve you. Because I'm going to be a Superman in next life. A Shudra who behaves contrary to the injunctions of the Vedas and Smritis, which is Vedas and Smritis are the scriptures, shall born as a ghost to eat head lice. How sick these people can be. I mean, what kind of imagination this? So when this is told to an untouchable, he is scared the hell out of himself already, working as a slave, working as an untouchable. And if he tell this guy his next life you're going to be a ghost, he is going to try his damn best to be an excellent slave. And that is what this is. And this is what's called Hindu religion. If anyone has any kind of doubt, I want them to hear this, what religion is. And they haven't left women alone anyway. No religion left women alone. To kill women and non-Brahmins is not a sin. Here, as I was telling earlier, the dwellings of untouchables shall be outside the village, and their wealth shall be dogs and donkeys. Their dress shall be the garments of the dead, and they shall eat their food from broken dishes. Black iron shall be their ornaments, and they must wander from place to place. This is the Holy Scripture we are talking about. We are not talking about some kind of pornographic material. Let's come to Bhagavad Gita, supposed to be the holy book of Hindu religion. Anybody heard about it? Now I want to tell you how holy this book is. Chaturvarnya is another name for Varna, caste system. Has been created by me. Me means God. Service is the natural action of the Shudras. Here service means serving the upper three caste. It is glory to die in the observance of one's dharma, dharma meaning your caste duty, but dharma of others, this caste duty of others, is a horror. So you better not try to learn somebody else. So they have done it in such a way, you do what you're supposed to do, faithfully.
I have a question I wanted to ask you. I'm from Guyana, which is a Caribbean nation. I have quite a few members of my family that are Indians. I know.
But since you started, finish it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let him go ahead. Let him go ahead. Not on the mic. I know. If you have a question, just go ahead and...
Go ahead. But we would like to have all the questions at the end so that they can record it, I guess.
Right. Come on. I'll wait.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come back. All the questions. I have all the time tonight. I'm not leaving till tomorrow. One should not abandon one's duty, which attaches to him from his very birth. See, they are reinforcing it again and again and again. He who worships him through performance of his own duty, dharma, attains perfection. This is from gThe. Few other scriptures. The Shudra must be prohibited from hearing, studying, and understanding Vedas. I want to go back one step earlier as to how these four castes are created. The Brahmins are supposed to have come from the head of the god. The second caste, which are the trader caste, they have come from the shoulders of the god. The third caste, which is the warrior caste, have come from the thighs of the god. The fourth, Shudra, have come from the feet of the god. I was wondering where the heck I came from. I'm an untouchable. Beg pardon?
You say it came from the shoulders,
Uh-huh.
right? It came from the center of the...
Now, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry, but I'm going to laugh. I'm choosing to laugh. Now, these are Dr. Velu Anamalai has given such profound information about religion, information about African origin. In India, he's also he has represented the position that the British colonization had made on the black people. You understand? Because the British people had their own colonial thing, they wanted a method in which they would insert into the society. It's like taking a malicious program, injecting it into the USB port, and then the malicious program is going to corrupt the operating system, which is what the British did. They thought, how can we control these people? Like, these people are too smart, these people are advanced, these people are civilized. Look at how much they've done within such a short time. Now, I think they were also envious of these Indian people. You understand? Now they came and they invented dharma, and they also invented karma. Dharma and karma is like yin and yang. Yin and yang is part of Taoism. Taoism is a religion of Buddhism. It's like a branch of Buddhism. Now, the white man comes and invents dharma and karma to make him superior. You understand? Now, dharma is like a god. The white man is representing himself as a god, as a mission of God. You understand? Now, making himself as a mission of God, he is saying that he is the one who is being the master, and these other people, the Indians and the Africans, are the ones who should serve him. You understand? Now, Of course, these people didn't come with their wives, as the doctor, the Indian doctor, Dr. Velu Anamalai puts it. They didn't come with their wives, and we know men with their instincts. A fertile man will always want to spread his seeds, and that is what they did. They came and they spread their seeds. Because those people are white, and these people were not white, they were black, and they started producing breeds with different color palettes. Some were dark, some were chocolate, some were, you know, we had varieties. Just like, again, the doctors put it. The same thing, which it reminds me of what Dr. Robin DiAngelo said, and Dr. Jane Elliott said, and also what Dr. Joy de Grey said. These people said the same thing. It's only that in America, they didn't invent dharma or karma. They invented racism. They invented its name. Dharma or karma is just a form of racism. But in America, it had a different name, but the same object. They said that in Europe and in Africa and in America, they invented racism in a way that it placed them as a place where they had to fight their cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is that thing when you have two ideas of equal weight. They are conflicting in your mind. Two ideas are conflicting and you are in a crossroad. Which one do I take? Which one will yield better result? Or which one will lead to severe consequences? And so to do away with this cognitive dissonance, because it brings a lot of discomfort, by the way, it can lead to depression, anxiety, and all such kind of mental-related diseases. They decided to invent racism. They invented slavery. They invented racism is when they invented slavery. They even went ahead and exploited. They twisted the Bible to suit their evil deeds. They twisted some of these verses of the Holy Book where it says, servants obey your masters. But who made the white person to be a servant because he has a white skin? A white person can be a servant to a black person. We have the criteria that makes someone to be a servant, and we have criteria that make somebody to be a master. I don't want to discuss those criteria. It's just common sense. It's common sense. We have many white people working for black people. And we don't go and say, hey, you know it's written that servants, you should obey your masters. Africans, we don't do that. But I find it, if it's on the other side, they find it justifiable. And they even go ahead and exploit the Bible. And that is something that nobody wants to do. Another thing is that this doctor has elongated that religion itself is a tool that was invented to suit the agendas of the West. Some parts I agree with him, some parts I do not agree with him. Because he said that he talked about white Jesus, and there is a part he didn't talk really good about white Jesus. I didn't like that. Christianity is not a Western religion. That is first thing. It's not a Western religion. We have historical evidence supporting this. In the book of Isaiah, we have Isaiah and the Ethiopian eunuch. We have, in the book of Philip, we also have Philip and the Ethiopian minister. No, it is in Isaiah that we have the Ethiopian official. But in Philip, we have Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. It's written in the book of Acts. I think it's in the book of Acts. I'm not certain, but it is written somewhere. Now, why would a very old text such as Isaiah is a very old text than Acts. It's a very old one. Why would it talk about Ethiopian eunuch? Why would it talk about such a Ethiopian official? Why? What relation does it have? Why do we have the oldest churches in Ethiopia? How did they come to be? Ask yourself, how did these churches come to be in Ethiopia? Because these churches were invented even before the civilization in Europe. What evidence do you have for me to show you Christianity, as he puts it, is not a Western religion? Christianity is a religion that is as old as its own self. Judaism and Christianity share the same ancestors. they are all Abrahamic religions. That is one thing that he stated. It can be true that with Hinduism supports the caste system, which is discrimination. Hinduism supports this honorable killing. The Holy Bible does not support such things. It doesn't. It says actually in one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill. God is not somebody who is a respecter of persons. He does not respect no one. And also he does not contradict himself. It is we, through our limited thinking, that we can read his words and we think that he's confusing, but no. I like that he is able to show the connection between Africans and Ethiopia and India. That is Ethiopia. When I say Africa, I mean Ethiopia. Ethiopia, Africa. They are interchangeable. He has shown the relationship between Africa and India. He said that long time ago, India was called East Ethiopia. I'll also add this, long time ago, Africa was called Ethiopia. Even the name Libya as a country has been called in the Holy Bible, Libya, the one we had in North Africa, the one which Muammar Gaddafi was the president. You understand? Now, I want us to look at some of these fascinating encounters of Africans to India. Some of the information I've acquired from this is, first thing we should understand is the early arrivals of the Africans in India. Believe it or not, if I tell you this, Africans have been part of the Indian subcontinent for centuries. As early as the 4th century, they began making their way to this place. Arab slave traders also played a significant role in capturing Africans and packing them onto hell ships. These ships braved the Indian Ocean and surrounding seas, eventually arriving on the Indian shores. I think the gateway from Africa to India was a place called Goa. Goa is notorious for having slave ports. The second one was the role of slavery in bringing Africans to India. Those African men and women were often sold as slaves to kings, princes, wealthy merchants, and aristocrats. They became known as Habshish and Sides, Habshish or Sides. So African slaves in India were called Habshish or Sides. The Portuguese, the British, and the French also contributed to this movement of Africans to India, bringing Africans to India as laborers, soldiers, and servants. The third one will be settling down in India. How did we settle down in India? Once in India, some Africans managed to escape the shackles of slavery. Fearing recapture and torture, they fled into the thick jungles. These thick jungles must be the places where the Professor Velu Anamalai was saying that some Africans escaped and moved into the forest. I think there's a place in India where nobody is allowed to go there. Those people are always very, very disconnected to the rest of the world. If you go there, they are very hostile. I think they're still living in those periods. In their mind, they're still living in those periods. It reminds me of a theory. It's more of an allegory than a theory. This allegory was brought about by Plato. Plato discusses the allegory of the cave, the people who were caged, and for some time, they were caged for a long time. They gave birth to children. These parents died. The children also gave birth to children for a long time. Now, one of the people in a particular generation manages to escape. He goes outside. He says that, things are okay outside here. Things are bright. It's not like the darkness we are used to seeing inside there. There inside, they were being shown shadows of things, not the real object. They would see shadow of a person walking. They would see shadows of puppets. They would see shadows of things. Shadows always exaggerate. I might be small, but if I walk, my shadow is 2 times my size. And I might think because I'm always focusing on the shadow, not the real object, I'm focusing and I'm fearful of the shadow. But that's not the truth. Now, one of these person gets outside, sees the real world, comes back and tells the people, hey, outside there I found a very interesting place. People are quiet, we have peace, we have this and that. And the people are so, who told you to go outside? Why did you leave? And who told you in the first place? Next time you try and leave us alone here, we will you. Imagine they want to execute someone because somebody is sharing truth with them. Tell me, what kind of beings can we be to reject truth when truth is brought unto us? It's likened to this theory of allegory of the cave. I recommend that if you're a lover of knowledge, please go online, search Plato's allegory of the cave. It's very interesting with how the human mind works. And this is what is happening with some of these Africans who escaped recapturing and torture. So they moved to the caves and those islands. They don't want to interact no more with outsiders. So another thing is prominence in Indian sultanates. I told you India back then was ruled by people called sultans. Sultans was like a title for the king. Sultan is more of Islamic, but you remember, we still had Islam in India back then. So the Deccan sultanates in southern India relied heavily on African soldiers. Interestingly, the Mughal rulers of northern India didn't allow recruitment from Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. African men held specialized roles such as soldiers, palace guards, and bodyguards. Some rose through the ranks to become generals, admirals, and administrators. Some of the notable figures of Africans in India are these. We have somebody called Malik Ambar. Malik Ambar is perhaps one of the most remarkable characters. He arrived in Amdanagar, which is Western India, as a slave, but went on to become a crucial ruler and military strategist, challenging the powerful Mughal. You've heard of the Mughal Empire. If not, maybe you've watched the movie trying to duplicate the historical characters. Now, another character we can talk about is somebody called the Abyssinians or the Habshish. Also known as the Abyssinians, these Africans from the Horn of Africa left their mark on Indian history. They even started their own dynasties in some regions. The legacy and the forgotten history of Africans is this. It is essential for Indians to recognize that Africans were an integral part of several Indian sultanates. Their contribution spanned between the 14th and 17th century. That is almost 400 years. From architecture to music, from military prowess to administrative skills, Africans have shaped Indians' past in a way that deserves more attention. Yeah. The doctor has explained very well, and he has explained the role of the British colonization, the role of religion, and the role of the caste system in banishing Africans. But Africans, I say, should be given credit where credit is due. Always give credit where credit is due, and that is a law of nature. Even nature compensates where it's due. Who are we humans to refuse to compensate? That's all for today. This is EFK Original Documentaries. If you like my content, give me a subscription. Super thanks might help. Join the Patreon. Join Patreon. I will so much appreciate. See you in the next video, where we shall also have deep critical analysis on the issues affecting Africa and Black people around the world. See you in the next one.